Sometimes the detailed instruction of our Torah seems very strange, like a remnant of a time and place long ago and far away, which it is. For those passages, we depend on the commentaries of the rabbis throughout the ages to make the words relevant and applicable. And sometimes the original text is so touching and true, so alive and relatable, that it can take your breath away. Reading these verses, when we are open to seeing the relevance, makes us feel at one with our biblical ancestors and helps us to know that we are just the next link in a very long chain that is beautiful and delicate and strong. For me, this week was one of those weeks. This week, thank God, Idan Alexander, who is 21 years old, who is a dual citizen of Israel and the United States, who is a lone soldier who volunteered to leave his home in New Jersey in order to apply his strengths to strengthen the IDF. This week, Idan came home. After more than 19 months in Hamas captivity, Idan was set free. After being held in a cage and tortured, he was set free. This news came during the very week of a lesser-known holiday called Pesach Sheni, a second Pesach. Have you ever heard of it? Pesach Sheni provides a second chance for those who missed the celebration of Pesach the first time around. It comes exactly a month later as a homecoming for those who, for one reason or another, were kept at a distance from the earlier celebration, the on-time celebration. So if you want to read about it, you can open up your Plaut Chumashim, which are the larger books right in front of you. And if you trust me, you can just listen. I want to share the excerpt that is relevant from the book of Numbers, chapter 9, verse 4, page 955, if you'd like. Moses instructed the Israelites to offer the Pesach sacrifice, and they offered the Pesach sacrifice in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at twilight, in the wilderness of Sinai, just as the Eternal had commanded Moses, so the Israelites did. But there were some men who were ritually impure or unclean because they had come into contact with the dead. And therefore, they were not in a ritual state to offer the Pesach sacrifice on the proper day. Appearing that same day before Moses and Aaron, those men said, "Impure though we may be by reason of coming into contact with the dead, why must we be debarred from presenting the God's offering at its set time with the rest of the Israelites?" What were they saying? Don't shut us out. Don't keep us out. We want to draw closer to our people. We want to belong. We want to participate in the ritual life of our people. So what did Moses say? Stand by, hang tight, and let me hear what instructions the eternal God will give about your situation. So Moses says, I don't know, let's toss it up the chain, and we'll see what comes back. So the Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people. When any of you or any of your progeny who are defiled, who are in a state of ritual impurity because they have come into contact with the dead, or," now here God is expanding the category, "or if they had been on a long journey while the offering of the Pesach was given to God, then they shall offer it in the second month, on the 14th day of the month at twilight. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, with matzah and maror. They shall leave none of it over until the morning. They shall not break a bone of it. They shall offer it in strict accord with the law of the Pesach sacrifice." So do it exactly as your brothers and sisters did it at the first Pesach, and you'll be good. But God says, if there is someone who is in a state of ritual impurity and not on a journey, and they choose, if someone is clean, someone who is not in a state of ritual impurity, and if there is someone who is not on a journey, but nevertheless refrains from offering the Pesach sacrifice at the right time, that person is cut off from his kin. For he did not present the offering at its set time, and that person will carry his own guilt. Okay, so recognizing people should be given second chances, and people also make choices and take responsibility for their choices. So if you can make the Pesach sacrifice, do it. If you can't, there's Pesach Sheni. You with me? Okay. Rabbi Ismar Shorsh has a book entitled, Sometimes There Are Second Chances. He writes, this passage reveals a striking exception. No similar concession is granted for missing any other festival. Just Pesach. There's no second chance for those who may have some valid reason and are unable to observe Sukkot or Shavuot or even Yom Kippur. It seems there's something unique about Pesach. And so Rabbi Shorsh says it's because Pesach is the holiday of belonging. Pesach is the festival, the celebration of belonging. To sacrifice the paschal lamb, he writes, was to reaffirm one's sense of belonging. And for that, many do need second chances. I'll bring just one of many commentaries of the classic commentaries. Chizkuni from the 13th century France notices, and if your Chumashim are open, you might notice too, that there's a rare dot above the letter He in the word rechoka. So if someone is on a long journey, rechoka means long or lengthy, and Chizkuni says that dot is pointing to something. And he says the journey that the person may be on is a kind of spiritual journey. It's not only that someone is on a physical journey away from their friends and family and therefore can't participate in the Pesach, but this is someone who has, for one reason or another, stepped away from Jewish life. And they need an invitation back. For one reason or another, they have been distanced from Judaism, from God, from the Jewish people. And so Chizkuni says these people always need a way back. Pesach Sheni is a shining example of that open door, of that extended hand, of that warm invitation back into Jewish life or into Jewish life for the very first time. And I imagine there are many stories right in this room. People who may have, at one stage of their lives, stepped away and then stepped in. Or someone who knew they were born Jewish, but weren't given the gift of education and participation in Jewish life. And so now that they're grown, they want to claim it for themselves. Or maybe people who are discovering Judaism for the very first time. Pesach Sheni also models for us that perfection must never be the enemy of the good. If you missed it first time around, don't worry. There's a second chance. And if the Holy One, blessed be God, can give second chances, can extend an expansive invitation, not only the one who was ritually impure, but also the one who was on a long journey, then so should we be able to extend invitations so that others might join us and see what they can discover here. Idan Alexander came home on Pesach Sheni. He was denied the Passover rituals last month when we were lucky enough to be gathered at our Yom Tov tables. And it was at no fault of his own, of course. Thank God, and yes, thanks to the many people who had a hand in bringing him home again, he is free, able to be in the embrace of his people once again. So On this week, when we're reminded of this little-known holiday, Pesach Sheni, the second Pesach, I want to call your attention to 4 opportunities on the near horizon for claiming your place among your people and showing that you belong. The first, I hope you will get sick of hearing about it. The World Zionist Congress election is coming. There is just a 10-day window to vote from June 5th to June 15th. So please not only prepare yourselves to cast your vote, for me, for the 12 delegates from Holy Blossom Temple to the World Zionist Congress, which will be responsible for allocating $5 billion over 5 years. But I want you to go one step further and let your circles of family and friends know about it. Anyone who is Jewish, Canadian, and 18 years or older is invited to participate, and it is so important. Second, we have the Walk with Israel coming. That is on Sunday, May 25th. It is one of the most obvious ways of knowing that we are part of a people. To march shoulder to shoulder with so many hundreds of fellow Jews and friends, allies, lovers of Israel of all kinds, it is very moving, and it's important that we stand up and be counted. A third is come to hear Tal Becker, really one of the heroes of our time, the defender of Israel in the International Court, most recently, and for decades now, he has been a chief negotiator between Israel and the Palestinians. Come and hear what he has to say about what this moment requires of each of us. And fourth, it is, I see Marnie here, our Director of Membership. It is membership renewal season. So this is a great time to say once again, count us in, and we're going to bring friends and family with us. And it is school enrollment season for the fall. So if you know a child or a teenager who is looking for Jewish education, Jewish friends, Jewish connection, and reinforce Jewish identity, it's time to register and bring family and friends to join them too. I want to conclude with a fantastic gift that came my way on Sunday. It was the last day of our religious school program for our younger students. And a very proud mother said, I want to share something with you. My son Zev, who is 8 years old, was given an assignment in his public school to reflect on what it means to be a good ancestor. It's a great assignment. I think it's fantastic that the TDSB is asking a question like that of all of its students. And here's what Zev wrote, which is a beautiful expression of this sense of belonging, of saying, count me in. I want a part of this ritual life. Be a good ancestor with your honesty. Truths become tales. Tales become stories. Stories become traditional practice. Traditional practice becomes belief. Amen.
Amen.